Greetings! What is up, and a very warm welcome to the channel. The sun is hiding, the rain is pouring, and the magpie is casting this fine Monday morning. Coming to you right now with a live 1 versus 1 battle featuring, spawning in the east, it is going to be the Vermax pieces of Billie Eilish. And spawning in the west, it is going to be the United States pieces of Who Run Bartertown. And looks like Who Run Bartertown is going to lead out the gates with a choice here of the heavy cavalry commander. Definitely, I would love to see some metagame statistics actually, like what percentage of ladder games we're seeing various commanders picked. Because I reckon if we had a metagame breakdown, this heavy cavalry commander would probably be a good 40%, like maybe more of the American meta. And I don't know, I mean, we always have this little moment of calm at the beginning of the game on this map here, which is Volshanka, where, you know, there's nothing super remarkable playing. Players are going to, you know, their units are going to rub up against each other and exchange shots, but it's very rare that any massive blows are dealt in this sort of super early game. So, yeah, the heavy cavalry commander, what are your thoughts on this commander, everyone out there? It's definitely a powerful tool, okay? Like, most of these abilities are very useful. The mines are useful. The smoke pots are useful. The rangers, that's a good squad. Combined arms is a bit of a dud. But then, yeah, the Pershing, again, it's useful. It's useful. But I kind of have, like, this suspicion that this heavy cav commander is actually kind of a little bit of a trap. Because it does feel good, and you get used to playing with it. You get used to relying on these abilities. But do they actually, like, are they as good as they seem? Is this commander translating to winning games as often as American players might hope? I don't know. I feel like, for one thing, because it's such a large part of the meta now, Axis players are getting very used to dealing with this commander. If you suspect that your opponent has picked this commander, the preparations to get ready for a Pershing in the late game, most Axis players are familiar with that procedure and are relatively comfortable engaging in a late game that involves a Pershing. And then furthermore, like, what utility does the Pershing add? And I'm discussing the Pershing, I suppose, because it's the sort of biggest or most obvious perk of choosing this commander. What does the Pershing really do? Okay, it has a high power main gun, it's quite maneuverable. It is devastating against infantry, but it is really at its best when it's pinging down Axis armor. So it's kind of essentially a bit like a Jackson that can take a couple more hits and is happy firing at infantry. Is that really a unit that American players are super interested in? Are they struggling for answers or armoured solutions to deal with Axis infantry? I feel like the main problem in the late game for US players is always Axis armour, and you already have the Jackson, which, like, the functionality of the Jackson, I'm just not convinced that the Pershing actually offers you anything in terms of anti-Axis late game armour over the Jackson that is super interesting. Like, the Jackson is just enough. It's a great unit. It's actually cheaper and easier to get, and if you micro it well, I mean, it's like, I just feel like the functionality of the Pershing is actually already exists in other allied units, in other American units, that most American players are already using anyway, so I'm just not convinced. It's been a long time since I've seen a Pershing feel game-changing in any way. I've seen Pershings get to 2 stars, even 3 stars in some recent games, but they have still not felt game-changing. It's, you know, it's very different to something like an ISU 152, which brings novel elements to the gameplay and enables you to play in a different way or force your opponent to play in certain ways. And it's very different to a King Tiger, and it's very different to a lot of these late-game, endgame units. So I'm going to put a little question mark over the Pershing for now and encourage American players to reconsider how frequently they choose this commander, because I just am not convinced it's delivering, to be honest. And if you accept that the Pershing, the functionality of that unit, can actually be achieved using a lot of other American units, like, and possibly even better, then what else does this commander really offer? Well, you get mines on riflemen, but that's very useful, but seldom game-changing. And, okay, the smoke barrage is genuinely great. It is good. And rangers are a very useful unit. But again, it's not like Rangers. Okay, I tell you what, the functionality that Rangers provide that nothing else on the American roster actually provides, except for paratroopers, of course, is the Bazooka Expert ability. And I feel like if you're taking this commander just for smoke pots and Bazooka Expert and placing mines, you'd be better off with some kind of airborne troops or paratroops commander. That's my gut feeling right now. I don't know. I always like to compare. This is not the first time we've talked about this on the channel, but since it's on my mind and since it's relevant to what I'm talking about, I'm going to say some of these things again. It's a bit like back in the day when the German defensive doctrine, I think it's mobile defensive doctrine, was new to the game. A lot of Wehrmacht players, in fact, basically, it was incredibly rare to see a Wehrmacht player not have that doctrine on the roster. And if you were getting overrun by Soviet partisan tactics or just T-70s, or if you basically get off to a bad start and find yourself badly behind in the mid-game, clicking on the mobile defense doctrine basically put you on life support for the next 10 minutes and made it quite hard for the allied player to finish the game, because you can call in squads of Ostroupen. Those Ostroupen occasionally had useful equipment, and you could also call in the Puma, and the Puma is good against most allied armoured units up to the late game, so it protects you, it insulates you for the mid game. But then you enter a late game where you don't have the tech or the resources to purchase any real late game tools, any real Axis late game armour, and then you just kind of die in the late game. So it felt like mobile defense was like a massive part of the meta for quite a long time, until everyone figured out that actually it wasn't changing any games, it was just mostly making them go on for 10 minutes longer, whilst the allied player got to the next stage of tech and then beat down your Puma and your Ostroupen with something that you just couldn't really hope to touch, because you'd had no map control or resource income for too much of the game. So I feel like once Wehrmacht players figured out that mobile defense was a bit of a trap, and also, you know, since then the state of balance of the game has changed significantly, but even back then they started moving away from mobile defense doctrine, because it just wasn't actually making that much of a difference. It was just delaying your defeat by 10 minutes, except in some very close games, or when you're picking it when you're ahead, or in different circumstances. But I mean, those were rare cases. I feel like actually Heavy Cav might be a bit like that. It feels like it's having a massive impact on the game, but is it actually really providing you with any new lines of play, or limiting your opponent in any ways that your existing set of abilities and units was not already doing? I don't know. I'm having a hard time seeing that, if I'm honest. So, I don't know. It's just Magpie here thinking out loud. Anyway, we're nearly 8 minutes in this game. Stuff's been going on. We've got Lieutenant Tech into a Stuart here for the American player, who has been doing fantastically well on field control. Billie Eilish trying to push out here, has the 222. That thing now actually with getting its engine busted by a tank buster grenade. So let's take a look at the scoreline here, because that is usually telling. Pretty even, to be honest. Bartertown 438 under the 468 of Billie Eilish. So actually a little bit of a surprise, seeing as how it seems like I've mostly been seeing American units shoving Axis units around and doing pretty well. The mini-map, an approximately even split. American forces occupying the middle of the map right now, so a slight edge for Bartertown, it's safe to say. Billie Eilish has access to the Spearhead Doctrine, the Mechanized Assault Doctrine, and I want to say... Man, who is that guy? I've forgotten his name. Alright, go on then. It's Lightning War Doctrine. There we go, Lightning War. So yeah, has access to 3 very potent commanders. And delaying that choice for now. Going to opt to pick one of them as the game goes on. These are all Tiger commanders, aren't they? Yep, so no matter what he does, he's going to have access to a Tiger tank. And it feels like when Axis players have access to a Tiger tank strategy of any variety, they usually lean on it. Again, not sure if that's the best choice. There are often games where you think like having a Sturg or a Panther or a Panzer IV even would have behooved the Axis player better than a Tiger, but you do sort of have to commit to going to the Tiger, or at least a lot of players mentally commit to going to that Tiger quite early on. So yeah, we'll see if that's going to be the case here for Eilish. Eilish going to regain control over the middle of the map, but if we look at the tactical, we can see American forces are pushing down the flanks here. We've got 2 squads of riflemen up in north, which one of them idle for a moment there, but nothing to write home about. Actually, these Grenadiers, 2 LMG-42s coming up on these units. They are starting to chew down these riflemen. Stuart has to retreat here without support, and we're seeing a German Sniper being added onto the roster here. So he's going to be getting his arse into here momentarily. It's actually been quite a long time since I've seen a German marksman on the field, so I'm excited about this. Ballsy taking a German sniper at this later timing, especially into the teeth of an existing Stuarts that you know about. So we're going to see what the accurate marksman is going to be able to do here. Jumping forwards to grab... Is this going to cut this off? No, it's not. Okay. I thought this might have been a cut-off momentarily, but it's not quite. So here comes the marksman, already busting a couple of American skulls down here.
Our opponents are seizing a sector.
Let's just quickly check the tech for the Axis player. So he has like the mechanized company, no sign of Battle Phase 2 just yet.
Enemy forces are securing our territory.
Just keeping an eye on this marksman. 4 kills now, very nice. This is going to be a difficult position to assault for the American player, but he's going to attempt it. Here comes some riflemen, they're getting awfully close to this marksman. He's taking fire. Uh-oh, an infantry squad has been killed, so somewhere on the map, an Axis unit being hemorrhaged there. I didn't actually catch that. Tank buster grenade comes down. There's a Stuart attacking Pioneers in the south, so they're going to have to fall back. And Huron Bartertown making a fairly determined attempt to take back large swathes of the map control here. He's going to have to fall back these infantry for now. Actually, he's lost a rifleman squad somewhere in here as well. So both players sustaining some roster losses here. Whoa. Wow, somehow those Pioneers get out of there. That Stuart could possibly have chased for a moment and taken a pack shot in order to get another shot on those Pioneers. You can normally sustain a pack shot without any great sweat, so that was an option there. Looks like we got a 50 cal coming on the roster here for Bartertown, who now has possession of the middle line of the map. Axis forces beginning to ingress out onto the map and try and get something done, as well they need to. A triple cap. Never where you want to be, of course. Billie Eilish starting to fall behind on the scoreline. New squad of Grenadiers coming onto the field. Wait, that can't be right. They've already got a Star of Veterancy. Did I hear that? I must have heard that wrong.
We have liberated this sector.
Excuse me. Okay, so a moment of quiet here. The American player just rearming, reinforcing, and rerouting his units back out onto the map. Looks like the Stuart going to be spearheading the attack into the north of map. Going to run into some Grenadiers, which it ought to be able to police handily. The pack gun garrisoned around mid, I believe. Let's have a look. Yep, in middle of map right now. So going to struggle to find shots onto the American light tank just at the moment.
The enemy is taking our territory.
Determined American assault coming through here. A couple of squads of riflemen do get up on top of the pack gun. That's crucial. If the pack gun goes down, this Stuart pretty much has free reign, assuming it doesn't get tagged by a Faust or anything. Whoa, Lieutenant going to be overrunning. These Grenadiers forced to GTFO. Just too much American muscle here. Punching through. Ah, wow. The 222 desperately doing its best to curtail this advance, and it is mowing down riflemen as best it can, but this is just a lot of American firepower. These Grenadiers not really able to take shots for the majority of that fight, so here they are. They're going to have to reposition back here. Pack gun probably going to get remanned, I imagine. Some Pioneers coming out here to do just that. Only 4 kills on that sniper, actually. He's been having a bad time since he's been off camera. Unable to be super productive. American squads making progress in south. Rear echelon troops chewing up ground. Eilish now falling behind. Got a good score lead for the first time opening up in this game. Bartertown, this last phase of play, looking dominant here. And assuming he doesn't make any mistakes or anything. I mean, this infantry roster is potent, powerful, and balanced, but brittle. If he loses any of these squads, things start looking a lot worse for him. 50 cal actually forced to fall back. Why is that? Is it just taking too much fire from Axis squads which were out of its arc, I presume? That 50 cal not really doing a lot, just arriving at the front and then turning tail. So always nice to deflect one of your opponent's brand new squads before it can actually do anything on the field. Nice stuff there. Stuart going to fall back and repair as well. 2 stars of veterancy. That thing has been the dominating force on the field. That's been the story of the game so far, really. Battle Phase 2 about to finish for Billie Eilish, and we'll see if he's going to throw down the support Armor Campanier or if he's just going to keep going for Tiger Tactics and go up to Battle Phase 3 and all of that kind of thing, which we're kind of used to seeing from Vermac players. I don't know. An Oswin would be fine on this field. A Stug would be fine on this field. I wouldn't hate just seeing something like that. He could go for a Spearhead Geezer here, and that would put Panzer Tactician onto those units, further making them like more robust. So there are options here for Billie Eilish, who's actually had a squad of Grenadiers chewing up north, got a squad of Pioneers chewing up south, and taking back a significant amount of field control. Nice stuff. Stuart here going to find the 222, but the pack gun in the hood for the assist will force the American light tank back. 50 cal has Overwatch here on the middle VP, which is frustrating, but hey, a little bit of LMG 42 fire, going to spray the gunner down on that one. And once this starts happening, we can get into a place where just every time a gunner steps up, he gets picked down. Also, a German marksman in the hood. Actually, probably just going to get the squad wipe here. Bartertown doesn't... here it comes. He gets him! He gets him. Nice stuff there. Didn't even have to use the incendiary round, actually. That was just a hit. So some riflemen here going to re-grab that 50 cal, but a fairly needless squad wipe there, I want to say, from Bartertown. That 50 cal was just sort of left to die for quite some time. Massive American advance in the north of map, though. Lots and lots of points being captured. Not a lot here for the Axis player. A wounded 222 going to do its best, but this is just too much American stuff. Should be able to slow down but not defeat this advance, I would have thought. Additional Axis forces are in the hood, though, so we've got some Grenadier squad in support here. And Eilish doing quite a nice job of keeping himself in this game. Major Tech, the choice here for the American player, has now finished, so that's pretty scary. How much fuel do we have for the American player? He's got like Sherman fuel, actually. So a little bit scary there. Let's quickly check the tech for the... Okay, we do have a support armor core. Pardon me. Support armor core is going to finish here for Eilish, and he does have interest in a Panzer IV. Hooray! Okay, not often that you see a Wehrmacht player go for a Panzer IV these days, it seems. Well, that's what we're going to see. And if Bartertown does end up going for a Sherman, I mean, he's waiting on the manpower, but if he does, then that will kind of play into Eilish's hands. The Panzer IV usually capable of keeping a Sherman under wraps, mostly. So, yeah, we're approaching an interesting mid-game here. We're going to have a Panzer IV mid-game out of our Wehrmacht player. Nice stuff. Small arms fire! Do we have a medic bunker at home? Yeah, we do have a medic bunker. Cool.
Our opponents are seizing the sector. We have a new Panzer IV.
Okay, so Panzer IV on the field.
Machine gun fire incoming.
Stuart here gonna leap in, gonna try and get the pounce on this 222. Where's the pack gun right now? Oh, the pack gun's at home, so the 222 exposed until Panzer IV going to be rocking up here. MG42 pintle mount on the way. Wow, getting an amazing first shot off that Panzer IV. Gives a couple of riflemen. And it is going to be a Sherman here from Bartertown. I mean, the Sherman could load those armor-piercing rounds, and then it is quite a good match for a Panzer IV. Okay, now he cancels and go for the Jackson. I was going to say, I like this a lot better. Jackson's going to scale a lot better into the later stages of this game. Panzer IV taking a dive here, wants a piece of this Sherman. No mines as far as I can see. This is risky, though. There could have been mines, and that would have been a Panzer IV in distress. But you know what, actually? There's no... Oh, is he going to finish this? You have to finish this. There we go. Yeah, there's no M1 anti-tank gun or any real Zooks or anything. So actually, it is okay. This Panzer IV is kind of free to just maraud in his opponent's half of the map. Whether Billie Eilish actually knows this for sure or not is another matter, so this is still like potentially risky, but we as observers know there were no mines, there was nothing to worry about there. So Panzer IV going to grab that Stuart and get out of there, and that is nice. Jackson going to be entering the field momentarily, but losing that Stuart actually pretty consequential, because now there's no rapid response infantry policing unit for the American player, and like we saw how effective that Stuart was being up until this point in the game, and its job was not over. Like, just because there's a Panzer IV on the field doesn't mean that your Stuart's suddenly useless. So yeah, losing that Stuart, bit of a loss there for Bartertown. Let's take a look at the scoreline here. 3-4-3 for the Axis player, 3-9-4 for our American player. But under a triple cap right now is Bartertown, so yeah, this is definitely a very even game. The loss of the Stuart, kind of annoying. Both players having sustained some infantry losses early as well. But I feel like the Axis player is having his way with this game slightly better. 16 kills on this marksman, 2 stars. That's of course when it gets the vital rate of fire upgrade, probably the most important star of veterancy for the marksman, I believe. Yep. So yeah, able to chip down. Taking a shot at the Major, but unable to translate. Whoa, we've got double Panzer IV build. Okay, if you're going into 2 Panzer IVs, I think I really like going for Spearhead Doctrine, because then you have Panzer Tactician, and those Panzer IVs become much more slippery and difficult to put together a kill on, and they can sort of tag team in and out of fights using the smoke in a way which can achieve a lot of damage and efficiency against American units. So I think I like going for Spearhead now. If you're going for 2 Panzer IVs as the Wehrmacht player. But here's my real question, and maybe Axis players out there who are better at this game, which is basically all of you, can tell me. What is it about this game that has made Billie Eilish decide to go for a double Panzer IV strat? Like, it's not actually clear to me what's going on here. It's fair to say this is not usual. This is not typical of Wehrmacht players, at least not in games that I've been observing. And if you... Everything I was saying about the Pershing not being super great, it is super great if your opponent is leaning heavily on like multiple Panzer IVs. Like the Pershing will just dominate Panzer IVs. So I'm just a little bit like, what is it about this game that has informed Billie Eilish's decision to run for 2 Panzer IVs? I'm not sure about it. I just don't know. Maybe this is just a style that he feels naturally comfortable with, but I'm hoping that there's something about this game which has like signaled his choice, but I just don't know what it is. Anyway, Panzer IV coming in deep here, wants a piece of the Jackson, but it's not going to find it. Lucky to get out of here without getting a vehicle busted. Okay, there we go. So he does get vehicle busted, but he's essentially out of the fight, so this Panzer IV is just fine. Where's the second Panzer IV? Hasn't revealed itself quite yet, but could do at any moment. Wow, actually, Billie Eilish taking strong field control. I suppose that's what going for these 2 Panzer IVs does for you. It opens up this specific timing window right now where the 2 Panzer IVs are on the field and your opponent doesn't quite have the answers for them yet. So you have this window of mid-game strength, but it will close relatively quickly. Like as soon as there's a second Jackson or a Pershing on the field, these Panzer IVs, their efficiency and their ability to dictate the flow of this game will be significantly limited. Wow, the American player has no units on the map right now. Nothing. Not even a single thing. So this is a pretty dangerous time. The Jackson, not even fully repaired, going to be bravely rolling out onto the map. You have to be careful with these. And we've got a, like, whole army commitment. This is like all of the American players' units moving together, which always worries me because you only have to fall foul of one MG42 or get cornered by one bad engagement and suddenly your entire army is falling back again, and then that just never feels good. So it seems like Eilish here has identified his opponent's intention to commit everything to the north of the map, and look, already 4 of the American units, 4 or 5 American units forced to turn tail. What's going on here? Bartertown, what has happened to your decision making? I don't understand this blob style move out. It just like doesn't seem very good. Okay, well, the Panzer IV is going to come in here from the south and they will catch the Jackson. Uh-oh, this is starting to look pretty bad for Bartertown. There are some Zooks in the hood for support, and we've got the Stuka close air support coming in to cobble together the kill. And that's an acceptable trade. 1 Panzer IV for a Jackson, absolutely fine. The most veteran Panzer IV gets out of there. 2 stars of veterancy comes down on that thing. The engine busted by a tank buster grenade. Whoa, he stops moving for a second. Risky when your opponent has this many Zooks. He's going to have to keep falling back here. The 222 still hooning in for damage. This is a lot of LMG-42s, and the American forces are going to have to give up the pursuit at this point. Just too many LMG-42s from too many angles to be coming into. When your Axis opponent has 4 squads of Grenadiers with 3-star veterancy and LMG-42s on every squad, that is significant amounts of like American mincing technology. Wow, this game's totally slipped away from Bartertown. He has no map presence. He's been forced back into his base. He's not getting the better end of any of these trades. This is looking pretty dire right now for Bartertown. Yeah, he's going to call it, and kind of understandably so. Like, help me understand what went down in this game. I just feel like we've seen a special snowflake of a game here with quite a lot of idiosyncratic and unique features that I don't fully understand whatsoever. So, point 1, why did Billie Eilish go for double Panzer IV in this game? I don't really, like, understand why he did that. I'm not saying it's a bad choice, maybe it's just something he's personally comfortable with, but I like to think that players look for certain aspects of games, whether it's something to do with the map or something to do with how the game has gone, his opponent's unit composition, or just some sort of game sense. Like, what is it that made him go for 2 Panzer IVs in this in this situation? Now, incidentally, he goes for the 2 Panzer IVs. That gives him a strong bubble of mid-game strength, and he's able to flex that strength, in this case, to a win, which surprised me because the American player had a Jackson and had a good composition otherwise. Perhaps was slightly late putting Zooks on his squads, but I mean, I don't think that situation was out of control there. But somehow then Bartertown just loses all map control. I guess that's a function of the combined anti-infantry rinsing power of 4 squads of grenadiers with decent veterancy and LMG-42s, a sniper, a 222 that's gone pretty much unanswered the whole game. That 222 was epic. Like, it was just very, very, very good at policing all of the amazing American infantry. So when you have that much anti-infantry firepower, I suppose then... Yeah, so then Bartertown loses map control, he's unable to come out, and then he loses the Jackson, which is, like, unforgivable. There were a couple of decisions there, like the move out where he committed every single unit in a big blob up to the north with a Jackson that wasn't fully repaired. I was a bit sceptical about that. I think it's always good to try and fan 1 or 2 units out and just make sure that your opponent is having to honestly hold the areas of the map he's holding. Because, you know, if you find a window where there's just no enemy units, then a squad of rear esh can grab a few points, and that's just always good. Yeah, so I don't know, this is just kind of a weird looking game. I feel Eilish ended up on a composition that I don't really know why he ended up on 2 Panzer IVs, and then it kind of worked for reasons that I also feel like I don't really know what were. So a little bit mystified, to be honest, but you know, I don't always comprehend everything I cast. In fact, I never do. So yeah, just an interesting game there. Not a long one though, and I have a little bit more time, so I'm going to hop into another game here. And we'll see. We'll see what we can find on the live game lobby here. Pardon me. So let's go and have a look. So we've got a game between Brosras and Jesulin. Right, well, we're going to play. We're going to watch that one in a heartbeat. Again, 2 absolute monsters of the scene. Brosras, probably one of my favourite players to be observing most recently. I just really feel like I can get behind almost every choice he makes. He plays very cerebrally. And in all of the games that I've been casting him on the channel recently, he's been taking games off of high-level players. So this is another exciting opportunity to cast him. Now, I think this might be my first look at his Wehrmacht play, so very keen to see how he's going to navigate his way through a game with this faction. So, spawning in the south, playing... pardon me. Playing as the Wehrmacht pieces, it is Brosras. And his opponent, playing in the north... as the American pieces, it will be Jesulin. And these two, again, just... I mean, Jesulin as well, one of the highest achieving, most notorious, most scary opponents that anyone could ever face. Just is assuredly going to bring some pretty, like, just great strats, amazing decision-making, fantastic awareness, multitasking, and game sense. Just all of the hallmarks of a very top-tier player. Jesulin has them all. He's no stranger to winning against everyone. So, yeah, this is going to be a very interesting map. A very interesting game on one of the most interesting maps in the game as well. So this is setting up to be a really nice one. So let's pay attention early on then. We've got MG42 first into Engineers. We've got sandbags coming up here from Pioneers. Nothing to write home about. And Riflemen start here from Jesulin. Let's take a look at the commanders quickly. So Brosras has the Lightning War Doctrine, he has the Spearhead Doctrine, and he has Jaeger Infantry as well. Wow. So 3 vanilla commanders, essentially. The Spearhead and Lightning War, definitely seeing a resurgence on the top tiers of play. Nice to see that Spearhead's seeing a resurgence, seeing as how he's always been quite close to my heart. I've just always felt very at home using that commander. Jesulin here, going to be running with, so we've got, is this Heavy Cav guy? Yeah, he's got Heavy Cav guy, Recon Support guy, and, oh, I can't remember his name, but it's WC51 guy. Mechanized Company. Oh. It's not WC51 guy. No, it is WC51 guy, sorry. Pardon me. Wow, he's been significantly changed, hasn't he? Every time I read this commander's abilities, I notice stuff that I didn't really realise before. Wow, this MG42 getting worked down here. Jesulin prioritising fire on that unit. The fallback does come down, but that's a pixel of health on this one. It's not the end of the world if he wipes this. It can be easily remanned with Pioneers. It would be annoying, though. Riflemen getting quite low as well, going to be able to safely fall back from this situation. Up to 2 squads of Grenadiers now for Brosras, so it was MG42 into Grenadier. Triple Riflemen now for Jesulin. Let's have a look over at the American base. Actually, no sign of a tech choice just yet. So possibly we'll see Lieutenant Tech coming around about now. 35 fuel and 250 munitions. Sorry, 250 manpower. Seems like the bargain of the century, doesn't it? American Tech always looks really, really tasty. Because not only do you unlock your tech, but you get a sweet officer squad who comes on with a decent weapon, ready to start just bullying your Axis opponent around. Just playing as Americans must be nice. I know. I'm not saying the game's immoral or anything. I'm not complaining. I'm just saying, like, I love how the factions have strengths and that those strengths are strong. Alright, here, so pretty much even game so far. That's the sound of the MG42. It's found its way back in here. And let's check the tech for our American player. It's going to be Captain. It's a Captain opener here for Jesulin. So, relatively unusual stuff. Deciding to play through this game with the pack howitzer, the flak half-track, and the M1 anti-tank gun as his earliest wanted units. And I wonder why this is, to be honest. Like, Lieutenant Tech, I mean, it's taken the majority of the time, because the majority of the time it does seem better. The 50 cal, I mean, having access to a machine gun squad is just always going to be great. The utility car is super useful, and so is the Stuart. I mean, these are really powerful units, whereas the pack howitzer is like, really? The flak half-track I've not seen since I've returned to casting this year, so jury's out on that one. Can't fairly judge it, but the fact that we've not seen anyone build one tells us something. And the M1 anti-tank gun is fantastic, but you don't often need it at this early timing. So, yeah, that is perplexing to me that Jesulin's doing this, but perhaps he'll show us why it makes sense momentarily. Flammenwerfer comes down on these pioneers, so they're going to be now a valid combat unit, or more valid, I should say. Scoreline looks like Jesulin taking a 30-ticket lead, but that is nothing to write home about. And I would say most of the time in a game featuring Wehrmacht and American forces, it is the American player who opens up the scoreline differential in the lead. And that's okay. Oh, that's right. Yeah, so can't the captain get extra resources? Okay, alright. I always forget about this. Okay, yeah, so the captain can supervise, which increases build time, right? Gaining veterancy will yield improved production. Oh, okay. So he can't get...
Capture point is being overrun.
He can't get additional fuel. He can only decrease the production time of a unit that's been ordered. Okay, sorry. For a second I thought that meant that he could get extra fuel somehow. My knowledge of the American forces is so weak. Okay, it's going to be flak half-track. Way to go, Jesulin. Way to go. We're using a very niche build here. We're going to use a niche unit. Brosras is going to go ahead and choose his commander. We've got Jaeger infantry, so that's why we've got the Pathfinder elite squads, or whatever they're called. What are they? Jaeger command squads. So let's take a look at these boys, since this is the first time I've seen them on the channel. They get the Model 24 smoke grenades, they get the Panzer Faust, they get the rifle grenades, they get Sprint, and they get Flare at Vet 1. They also, as you can hear, have G43s and are outputting considerable amounts of DPS. This squad will set you back 300 manpower, so those are some of the relevant statistics when considering this unit. Wow, look at them go. They are just bullying the American squads back, running in, G43s thundering. Is this 5 G43s that the squad has? It certainly seems to be. That is putting out ferocious amounts of damage. But you know what else can put out ferocious amounts of damage? An American M15A1 half-track with the super spooky anti-air mount on the back, which consists of, what, 4 machine guns or 2 machine guns and a cannon and an autocannon? Yeah, that is some scary stuff. Pardon me. So here it comes. Going to back out onto the field here. These Jaegers are going to try and connect to Faust, and they will. And then I imagine they're going to be forced back in rapid order here. Yep. There's a scuffle going on over here in the east of the map. Looks like some pioneers. Going to be burninating some rear esh there. Vehicle crew repair is going to come down here for the half-track, so the Faust damage going to be repaired in short order here for Jesulin. Who's also secured himself the 3/4 ton ambulance, as we're used to seeing American players do at around about this sort of timing.
Reinforcements in. Welcome to the death factory, boys. Stick with me, you might just make it. We have a full complement.
So yeah, Bunker has come down for the Axis player, so both players having access to in-base heals now. Pack gun also on the field in response to this half-track from the American player. And yeah, obviously the pack gun is going to be very effective at telling that half-track where it can and cannot go, but it can't be everywhere on the map, and so I think that this half-track is still going to be able to find windows of opportunity to start giving Germans. That is what it's doing. Hooning in for damage here. There goes the pack gun though, and you have to be careful. This half-track does not have the most health, so this pack gun doesn't need to find many hits. I think it will kill it in 3 hits. I don't think 2 hits will... You know what, actually, 2 hits may do it. That does look to be about half damage, doesn't it? So perhaps 2 hits will kill it. I think it will. How much does this half-track cost, anyway? It costs 50 fuel, 310 manpower, so always worth bearing in mind the relative value of these units, especially particularly for me, because I'm not very familiar with this half-track. Man, these Jaeger infantry pack a punch. They're just murdering American troops. Look at them go, just closing into point-blank range and stacking the damage on. Okay, Brosras getting quite overeager with that unit. Forced back here, but that's fine. They forced American units back. Half-track here finding a nice angle. The pack gun not actually ready. Has to reposition.
The enemy is attempting to steal our sector.
So what do we make of this game so far? Well, Brosras are behind by about 50 tickets, but that's fine.
The enemy has driven a wedge in
Both
our
players going for interesting decisions as far as tech is concerned. This Jaeger commander and the use of the Jaeger command squad is very interesting. Are you limited to just one? Ah, you are limited to just one. Okay, that makes a lot of sense for how powerful this unit seems to be. Goodness me, imagine if the Axis player could spam them. That'd be terrible. No particularly notable resource differentials. I mean, we've got one right now, but it's not been going on for very long. So both players are relatively even in this game, I want to say. Perhaps a slight lead for Jesulin, but it's precarious. If he loses this half-track, which could happen very quickly, then the game will look a lot worse for him. But I think Jesulin has had the better end of this half of the game. He's going to go ahead and choose the heavy cav commander, which I have to say I'm a little sad to see for all the reasons that I was talking about earlier. But this is Jesulin, and I trust his judgment, I trust his skill. So I'm happy that it's the right choice. Where's the Jaeger command squad in all this? Okay, it's capping in the west. Yeah, so this represents a lot of American wrath. And I like transitioning the half-track over to this side of the map. You know, Jesulin has seen that the pack has been in the west of the map, so by transitioning the half-track over here, you either... I mean, you just know you're going to find a window of pack gun-free time where you can just use this half-track for value. So that feels pretty good. Captain here going to be beating back some grenadiers in west. So right now, no major blows being dealt by either player. Both players just trading evenly, trying to get the most efficient fights out on the map, trying to take the most ground, and that has all just been going slightly Jesulin's way in my estimation. This Jaeger commander squad is really something. The community balance team have just done a masterful job, not only of balancing the new commanders, but reinvigorating these old ones. Because this used to just be a super vanilla commander with nothing particularly exciting to it, but now you get to use a unique squad that no other commander has access to, as well as a load of spicy abilities which are relevant. So that's just great stuff.
The sector has been cut off.
Look at them go, they are out-damaging at pretty much optimal range a rifleman squad at 2-star with a BAR. 2 BARs. They're actually just going to win this damage race. Yep. Wow.
The enemy is overrunning one of our capture points.
That's pretty awesome for a unit that costs no munitions. Yeah, this flak half-track doing a much better job now that it's been in the east of the map. Just, okay, now the pack gun feels forced to transition, but Jesulin's kind of looks like he might be moving the flak half-track out of this area of the map. We'll see. Pack gun on the stalk here. Hunting for this half-track. Doesn't quite find it, though. Pack howitzer getting added on. Jesulin playing a very interesting style of United States play here. Okay, so yeah, we've got a pack howitzer on the field. And this, again, is a map that I can really get behind a pack howitzer on, actually. You can keep the pack howitzer somewhere along or near the central line of this map, like around here somewhere, perhaps. And that means that it can fire into either side of the map, and it covers quite a lot of relevant area. Can we get an indication of the range of this pack howitzer by clicking on it? Not right now. Can I get an indication of the range? It's just been a while since I visually confirmed what the range of a pack howitzer looks like. It would be nice to see. Perhaps I can when it deploys. Okay, here we go. That's better. So yeah, relatively long range. And you can imagine if that pack howitzer makes it into a position like here, or even able to push up to here, then it's able to cover quite a lot of the map, even firing into the east of the map. So I do like the use of the pack howitzer here. It's going to give him access to smoke as well. So if he's able to locate that pack gun, he may be able to put some smoke on top of it and then use the AA half-track to destroy the pack gun in a radical turnaround of the dynamic that we've been seeing so far. Just, it's nice to have options, and getting the pack howitzer at this early timing gives it the best opportunity to vet up as the game goes on. So yeah, I'm interested. That is a lot of G43s. That is the sound of thunder. Wow. Because obviously these grenadiers also have G43s coming up. How much does that upgrade cost? 45 munitions. Youch! Pack howitzer finding a nice shot there. Okay, that's the sound. Okay, yeah, this half-track, ever since he transitioned it into the east of the map, has just been dominant, really. It's just been shoving Axis units back. MG42 here, but I mean, you have to feel like the pack howitzer will probably just have that one zeroed in momentarily. It's just on the limit of range, but ought to be acceptable. So hang on, we've got this ambush training. Infantry units are now capable of sprinting for a short period of time. Grenadiers, Panzer Grenadiers, and HMGs can be upgraded with better camouflage, concealing them in cover and deep snow. Very interesting stuff, because, you know, obviously this MG42 has actually been upgraded. So that gives it a brief increase in accuracy when attacking from stealth. On an MG42, it's pretty scary. Looks like the AA half-track is going to come over into the west of the map now. Has to be careful, the pack howitzer, sorry, the pack gun out here angling for shots. Lots going on this flank right now. Pack howitzer curving shots in.
Our opponents are seizing a sector.
And it looks like USF winning fights on both flanks. Even able there to wipe a grenade. No, he wiped out the Jaeger command squad. Oh, I missed that. Where did the Jaeger command squad die? Well, that is a beefy loss for Brosras to sustain. And I gotta say, this game looking real bad for Brosras now. With the loss of that unit. Okay, he's got a Panzer IV on the queue, so he's not out, but he's not out yet. But this is looking really bad. He's behind on the scoreline by an increasing margin. Pardon me. And Jesulin's roster just looks great. And even though there's been a pack gun on the field this whole time, and even though the first time it instantly moved out on the map and got hit by a Faust, this AA half-track has been good. It has just been a powerful piece in dictating how this game has gone. And it's still totally alive. Now that's going to be very hard to do with a Panzer IV on the field, but... So there's a Panzer IV, there's also an M1 anti-tank gun. Jesulin really putting together a masterclass. American players, you know, might be worth whipping out your notepad. This is how you do a captain opener. This is definitely how you do it. Jesulin making use of the pack howitzer, the M1 anti-tank gun, and the flak half-track in a cohesive fashion that looks very complete. You know, the Axis player has really struggled to seriously sink his teeth into this composition that Jesulin's put together. And I'm really liking what I'm seeing. I mean, we've seen a lot of Lieutenant play dominating the American metagame recently. And it's nice to see that Jesulin is capable of doing the lesser seen tech route and pulling it out to great effects. Like, this is looking fine. And now the Panzer IV's on the field, but there's an M1 anti-tank gun, which is actually being flustered. So, oh no, this Panzer IV finding the better end of the anti-tank gun already. Not what you want to see as the American player. Here comes the flak half-track, perhaps to try and offer some sort of distraction. Buy some time for this. Oh no, so the M1 goes down. That's a big shame. And immediately we see some smoke come down on this position to try and prevent the Panzer IV from destroying that anti-tank gun. It does get recrewed. So there's going to be an attack ground war going on there. Oh no, no, no. It looks like Jesulin opting to retrieve the gun rather than try and get damage on the Panzer IV. And that's probably the right choice because he's Jesulin. Yeah.
We're losing a capture point.
Pack howitzers not known for their accuracy, are they? Damn.
Supply lines cut. Germans are making a push.
So yeah, able to get a cut-off here is Brosras. Very savvy decision-making, because remember, not that long ago I was saying, like, oh, you know, this game looks pretty bad for Brosras, but his Panzer IV comes out onto the field, giving him a little window of strength where he can make a play, and he immediately makes a play for a very damaging location on the map. Takes the cut-off, and now he's cutting off munitions and 2 other capture points which are still American-occupied. He's decapped fuel, and he has free reign more or less over the west of the map, which of course is the most important... Sorry, it's actually not the most important side of the map. Oh, I keep forgetting that. So yeah, now the Panzer IV taking some hits from the M1, has to respect that, gonna have to fall back a little bit, get some Pioneers to come in and repair that. Brosras does have 2 squads of Pioneers, so if he wants he can repair that pretty quickly. One of the squads of Pioneers even 3-star, which I believe they get to repair faster, reduces risk of repairing while under fire. Okay, so it's Vet 2 for improved repair speed, but yeah, they do repair faster, so that's nice. Major tech is completed now for Jesulin, so he has access to the top tier of American tech. We're going to see if he makes any choices from that, or if he's going to continue saving for Pershing, which it does look like that's the game plan right now. And this is actually one of those times when a Pershing probably does have some advantages over a Jackson, because the Jackson really only beats the Panzer IV, whereas the Pershing is able to smite any any Axis unit it finds. Jaeger Command Squad has been repurchased, so those boys are on the field once more. It's the sound of the flak half-track just doing its thing over in this side of the map. It's curious as well how, despite the fact that 2 of the victory points are on the east side of the map here, the majority of units and battles and commitment has been over here in the west. Okay. Sorry, I'm just trying to... There's a lot of sort of disparate fighting going on sort of all over the map right now. Looks like Jesulin moving into the east of the map with intent. Scoreline 318 for Brosras, under 468 for Jesulin. So the scoreline situation starting to become a concern right now for Brosras. You know, obviously he's not in immediate danger of being pushed out of the game, but he is in danger of moving into the late game with a scoreline that is going to require him to take some bad fights when he'd rather be able to wait and take a better fight. And that can often dictate who wins the game. So this kind of a scoreline differential, if Brosras isn't able to equalise it, is going to start being a problem as we move into the late game. So this is definitely a Pershing strat, right? Jesulin is saving hard for that Pershing. 600 the amount of manpower he needs now, and then he'll be able to bring in the American heavy medium. So that's the major recon flight? Yeah, major recon flight being used there. This Panzer IV still not really repaired. And that M1 anti-tank gun finding some shots from, wait, from here. Let's check out the stats on the pack howitzer. 3 kills and a modest amount of veterancy. Hasn't looked the best this game, to be honest. How much is the pack howitzer? 340? Ugh. Seems like a lot. Why does it cost so much? Alright, Pershing's on the field. Spicy camo on that one. And that Pershing now, de facto Kingmaker on the field. Definitely the most powerful unit, and its positioning and the type of engagements it starts taking is going to decide how this game goes now. I'm liking this skin quite a lot. The golden barrel and like plating on the front of the turret. It's just an interesting look. So this pack howitzer finding some hits on these pack guns? No, not really. Okay, it finds an MG42 momentarily. No, yeah, kind of. Yeah, definitely getting some damage in there. So I think he was using the white phosphorus barrage, was he? No, okay, maybe not. Just using the regular barrage. Panzer IV number 2 coming out on the field here. Okay, so this is 2 for 2. We've seen Wehrmacht players go for the 2 Panzer IVs. So maybe this is a slightly more meta composition than I gave it credit for in the first game. But this is still only the second time I've seen the double Panzer IV strat, I think. Wow, Pershing getting ballsy. Comes in deep. decides he might want to try and take some shots into these infantry squads. And, you know, this is something you can't do with the Jackson. It's risky. But yeah, this is not something that you could see a Jackson doing, really. So we are seeing some extra value being provided by the Pershing.
Forces are securing our territory. Panzer IV is ready for battle.
Okay, so here comes the second Panzer IV. Let's quickly check the tech for Jesulin. Oh, sorry, for Brosras. No sign of battle phase 3, as you might expect. Pershing finds a nice angle to start hooning shots into the flank of these advancing Axis infantry. It's scary stuff. Panzer IV going to be pushing forwards. Forces the pack howitzer back. Where's the M1 anti-tank gun? Oh, that one was lost? Yikes. Oh, I missed that. Where was that one lost? Well, suffice to say, the M1 anti-tank gun has been lost. And I would love Jesulin to rebuy that one. Or he could just save. He could just save and see if he has enough money for a Jackson to go alongside his Pershing. Then that would be an absolutely very difficult anti-tank force for these two Panzer IVs to try and be effective against. That would be very difficult.
We have 300 points remaining.
Let's check out this flak half-track. 7 kills, 2 stars of veterancy on that one. What does it get of Vet 2?
Browns are taking one of our points.
Improving ability to navigate. And then we get weapon accuracy, target stability, survivability. Okay.
Our supply line is cut. Germans are making a push.
Just nice to familiarise myself with these units that I don't see very often. So 294 now under 433 the scoreline. Jesulin still looking dominant. But Brosras has all the pieces he needs to bring this game back. This is a scary Axis roster. He has plenty of units and they are very good. Pershing here feels comfortable getting right up on top of this Panzer IV. We're going to see Stuka close air support come in to try and help out here. And that does find some hits. The cannons on those aircraft putting some damage onto the Pershing. We'll see if the Panzer IV has any interest in chasing. Nope, none whatsoever. And that's okay as well. The Pershing going to back itself well out of range of this close air support. Tank Buster Grenade manages to connect onto this Panzer IV, so it's going to retreat a little for now. 2 squads of Pioneers are here though, so I imagine the repairs will be timely. This is a diving Panzer IV, and it's good. I suppose he knows that the Pershing is wounded and on the other side of the map, so he gets the AA half-track for free. Brosras with these just brilliant decisions, using the information he has and the units he has, and that's what we needed, you know? He finds a telling hit. He draws blood in this very difficult circumstance against an American player who really doesn't want to be spending manpower on rebuying an AA half-track, so he's not going to do that. So that's just an AA half-track he's not going to have to worry about, which is great. Pershing comes forward here, but this is a wounded Pershing, and there are still 2 Panzer IVs on the field. The other one is now fully repaired, so this Pershing cannot really afford to engage into this Panzer IV. It will have to go home and heal. Whoa, no, and with pack guns here as well, there is no chance of a pursuit. Jesulin too smart though, of course he knows it. Gonna fall back that Pershing for now to repair. He's stacking up 140 odd fuel, 300 odd manpower, so for sure he could take a Jackson soon, and I would like him to be able to do that. I feel like now he does need additional anti-tank resources, and the Jackson is just the most efficient way of putting those on the field. So yeah, I would like to see a Jackson, and then being realistic, maybe oh, why can't I remember its name? What am I thinking of? The motor carriage. What do we call these? A Scott. Yes, the Scott motor carriage. There we go. I just couldn't remember the name. Yeah, then maybe a Scott would actually be fine. If you get the Jackson and then a Scott, I think that could start looking pretty spicy. It's going to be a Sherman. Okay, surprising. A Sherman and not a Jackson. Help me understand this. What is the difference in manpower cost between those units? Jackson, 400. Sherman, 340. And 35 fuel in it. Given that he had the spare fuel, I think save for a Jackson here. I mean, I guess he reckons that he needs the full functionality of a medium tank over a tank destroyer to enable him to have additional anti-infantry resources. This is partially going to ameliorate the loss of his flak half-track. But I just think that's not really what the game's about. And we've got a Stug! Brosras, you're so smart. Wow. We've got a Stug being added, and this is brilliant. An assault gun can handily nestle itself behind these 2 Panzer IVs, and it has a lot of infantry that can support it. And as long as that Stug is just behind some other Axis units taking shots, it doesn't really matter what it's shooting at. It will be finding damage, it will be finding efficiency, it will be making life harder for the American player. It can find the Sherman, it can find the Pershing, it can fire at any of these American infantry squads. And we've gone from a game where in the mid-game, the early stages of the mid-game were looking so good for Jesulin. He was shoving Brosras back on the map. He had a really nice composition. His Captain Tech opener had been successful. And now it's like Brosras has just maneuvered himself into a position where these two Panzer IVs actually look really smart. Two Pioneer squads, but we're keeping them nice and efficient. The Axis infantry is really scary with all these G43s. It's actually answering this American infantry on a pretty much one-for-one basis. And now the Stug, okay, gets cancelled. And a mortar squad gets added. So what are we saving for? It's Battle Phase 3, that's why. Okay, changes his mind, goes for Battle Phase 3. Possibly interested in going for a Panzerwerfer, or a Brumbar, or a Panther. So let's consider those three units. I mean, a Panther looks horrifying on this field. I mean, a Panther will just probably win the game. That looks very difficult for the American player to deal with. Sherman's here, by the way. 50 cal is upgraded on that one. Yeah, Panther would be disgusting. The problem, of course, is saving for that. But actually, his resources are probably going to time out as long as he can maintain some field control, where he'll be able to build the Panther more or less as the Schwerer Panzer Corps is finishing. So that looks fine. A Brumbar. This is not the best field for a Brumbar. Your opponent has a Pershing. Your opponent has a Sherman. The Brumbar can contribute against those units, but that's not where it's at its best. And unless you get some lucky hits on this American infantry, I just can't see the Brumbar really being great. Panzerwerfer, though, that's very interesting. Panzerwerfer could be very good, and it's the cheapest. And this is a map where a Panzerwerfer can sneak in relatively close and take shots at retreating American squads, saturate this location, or it can blunt American advances and just make it very hard for the American player to push on the map. And now we're approaching the late game. It is all about that ability to push on map, so... In Jesulin's credit, though, he does still have 140-odd ticket lead. Donk! And a Pershing, which is vetting up very nicely. 2 stars, so what do we get? Overall mobility, defend the tank with grenades, and improve reload time. Very nice. So, yeah, this Pershing is doing what it needs to do. You know, American forces don't really have a rocket artillery unit, do they? I mean, obviously they have the Calliope, but I mean, in their default tech tree, they don't. 3 stars of veterancy on this Panzer IV. Testament to how effective it's been against the Jesulin. 36 kills on that unit. Very nice stuff. Jesulin being so ballsy with this Pershing, really pushing it far forwards. The Sherman is lurking in support, but if that Pershing, I mean, it's down on like, it is damaged right now, and there are 2 Panzer IVs on the field, one of which is Vet 3. And I mean, a Vet 3 Panzer IV, if it gets around the sides or flank of that Pershing, will be very scary. So this game is looking very difficult for Jesulin right now. Crucially, though, let's quickly crack the attack. Actually, no, you know what? There's just too much action going on. Pershing coming in here, finds a shot against that Panzer III. 2 pack guns here in support, though, so that will shove the American Pershing back. But as I was saying, yeah, crucially, Jesulin able to retain control over the east of the map, which is where the 2 victory points are. So he keeps Brosras under the clock for now. Stuka close air support comes in. The Pershing heavily wounded, but should be okay. Brosras really just buying time for his munitions, and that is 200 munitions, so not a trivial cost. Pack Howitzer on 2 stars of veterancy now, though. I missed this. 8 kills. Has done some stuff. I would love for Jesulin to buy more M1s or go for a Jackson, and he has the fuel, so it has to be a Jackson. Go for the Jackson, Jesulin. That's what I reckon the smart choice is here. If he can actually manage to save up enough. Brosras is pushing so relentlessly, though. And, like, is the Schwer Panzer HQ finished? Yep, Schwer Panzer HQ is here, or Heavy Panzer Corps, whatever you want to call it. 150 fuel, the price now for a Brumbar. Wow, that is actually cheaper than I recall. Back in the day, I believe they used to be 165 or something. I could be wrong about that, but anyway. Or he could save for the Panther, and as I said earlier, that probably does represent closing the door quite firmly in Jesulin's face on this game. Like, I don't really see how you take out a Panther when it's supported by all this infantry with 2 pack guns on a Panzer IV. Now, of course, you can't actually fit a Panther in, it costs 18 supply, but if he takes like 1 squad wipe, or just decides to sack one of these units, then yeah, he could definitely get a Panther, and that would be very difficult. I'm not sure how you beat a Panther, to be honest, on this, yeah, it's a Panther. Brosras is very clever. I don't know how you beat a Panther here. You definitely need a Jackson, that's like step 1. Oh my god, this Panzer is just on 2 stars. The Sherman really hasn't been very effective this game, has it? It's barely gotten any good shots in. Uh-oh, now Jesulin in danger of losing core infantry. These riflemen getting badly mauled here by Axis infantry and armor. Jaeger command squad still out flexing its muscles. The captain here won't be able to do it, and for the first time, we see Brosras conclusively able to dominate the east side of this map. Now, Jesulin does still have time, and oh, he's going to use his captain here. Provided he doesn't, I was about to say, provided he doesn't lose any units. Yeah, he loses his captain. That is pretty bad. Ah, Jesulin's getting squeezed so hard here. Brosras is just, it's like playing against a python. He just constricts you in every way possible until you are crushed to death. This man is scary. There was definitely a time in this game earlier on where I really think he actually was behind, but he's been able to gather this game in so comprehensively, so competently. It's actually just brilliant to watch. I don't want to be like too much of a Brosras fanboy, but I'm just going from the games I've observed, which I admit is a very limited window. The Panther tank reveals itself. Oh god. Oh god, it gets in behind the Pershing, or at least in the flank. American units are here to rifle bust, to vehicle bust this though. But yeah, as I was just saying, I don't want to be too much of a Brosras fanboy or anything, but like, from the games I've watched, which is nowhere near a good enough sample size to say anything conclusive, but just from the games I've watched, I do get the feeling that Brosras might actually be a slight whisker above the other top tier players. Look at this. He's won this game. I mean, you can't sustain this amount of core infantry losses and still be okay in this game. Look at Brosras' endgame rosters. It was the same when he plays USSR. I feel like he's just always picking the right unit at the right time and ending up with these late game compositions that are frankly terrifying. He always gets very early, like relatively early on, he always gets a second Pioneer squad or a second Engineer squad we've seen with them when he plays USSR. So his vehicles are always having a very rapid turnaround. They're able to vet up fast and be very potent on the field. And like, how do you win this as Jesulin now? Like, how do you ever take a fight against this composition here? You're not playing as Soviets, you can't get Katusha or anything like that. So you have to fight into 2 pack guns, 2 Panzer IVs with heavy veterancy, and a Panther. He actually finds a vehicle buster grenade, and he's stalking this Panther down, but I mean, look, there's just going to be like an avalanche of supporting units here. Jesulin actually just knows he can't even pursue into Fog of War. It just will not go well. So I am very impressed by Brosras though. Again, I don't want to sound like a fanboy, but he has just seemed just a little bit better, even than Jove, and even apparently than Jesulin in just this game, which, as I said, very small sample size, cannot draw any definitive conclusions, and shouldn't really be making sweeping statements, but he does seem very good. This Sherman has been awful. I think it's safe to say, with the benefit of hindsight and analysing this from a, like, once we know how the Sherman has gone, but like, this has not been a good unit to have picked. I think he needed a Jackson when he went for that Sherman. He had the fuel, so I was a little confused at the time. We've got Rangers on the field, and the Rangers do have Zooks. So we've got an infantry-based anti-armor solution here for Jesulin. And that makes sense. I like this a lot. They are very good. Oh, it's got a BAR on there as well. That's a bit awkward. Probably want the double Zook on that squad if that's what you're getting it for. So they do have Zook Expert, and we've seen those Zooks be very scary. I believe it extends the range as well as the power, so really nice to have. But is it actually going to be enough? Is it actually the answer? I just don't know. These Panzer IVs have 46 kills. 3 vehicles, 43 infantry. My goodness. And Jesulin's position severely compacted. He has only the portions of the map that Brosras is allowing him to have right now. I don't know what you're supposed to do. That's Jesulin. This Panther is just like the nail in the coffin. So he gets a Faust onto the Sherman. The Panther gets hit by Zooks. Whoa! One of the Panzer IVs does go down. That Pershing, very scary actually on 3 stars. The Panther is quite stricken here. This is a lot of Zooks. Jesulin making a massive adjustment by putting a lot of Zooks on his squads. Very interesting. The pack guns are here, but they're late. They needed to be here earlier. You know what? They might not be too late, though. This Pershing is stricken, and under their arc, Ridiculous amounts of AT shells being lobbed in. Rangers, though, getting on top of these anti-tank guns, and a lot of other American infantry. Jesulin kind of taking a good fight here against all odds. He pushes through, gets rid of the pack guns, extracts his armor. The gun, I believe, broken on the Pershing. Is that gun broken? Pershing. No, it's not. But the engine also is broken, though. But he manages to grab the 3-star Panzer IV, so that's the beginning of something. The Panther, desperately wounded, gets away just. Pardon me. But putting all of these Zooks on infantry is really strong here. He's going for another Sherman. But Jesulin, why? Help me understand these Shermans. Why is he going for another Sherman? It's not like this first Sherman has been particularly great. In fact, he's leaving it behind. Jesulin, are we doing this? We're leaving that Sherman out on the field to go and repair the Pershing more quickly. Okay, no, that was a mistake, so he's gonna... I think that was just a mistake. I don't think you ever mean to abandon your Sherman and then, like, take a lengthy jaunt with your infantry and then move back. It's a second Panther.
Sherman ready.
I mean, Jesulin he's behind on the scoreline, but he's definitely still in this game. Now that he has this many Zooks on his infantry, that's pretty scary. The Sherman gets recrewed, but now he's going to be playing against 2 Panthers. But he has... I mean, the 3-star Pershing is really, really, really scary now. Improved accuracy and rate of fire. Once it gets to Vet 3, the Pershing is very, very rapid fire. I just feel like maybe support the Pershing with, like, 1 Jackson and 1 Sherman instead of 2 Shermans? I don't understand these Shermans. But that's okay, I don't need to understand everything to enjoy watching it. So, okay, major artillery comes down, finds its mark on some Axis units here, definitely finding some damage. Pack guns are in the position though, and they will just destroy these Shermans, sorry. They are very good at preying upon these American medium tanks. Jesulin sneaks a unit into west of map. Ranger's going to be heroically getting him off the clock.
We got a new unit ready.
And that's crucial. And so, okay. So now we've got Pershing double Sherman against Panzer IV double Panther. But there's a lot of Shreks on these infantry. Sorry, Shreks. There's a lot of Zooks on these American infantry. And there are 2 pack guns. So it's just a very interesting late game dynamic. I'm very amazed that Jesulin has clawed his way back into this one. Very amazed. And for all that I've been saying about the Pershing not really being a very good unit, it's certainly looking spicy in this game, isn't it? I'm still not convinced it's better than just like a Jackson would have been at the same timing. Like, okay, it's better. I'm still not convinced it's materially better to the outcome of this game. But it is looking good. I would love to see him get another squad of rear Esh or just like a utility car or something. He needs more repairs on this Pershing. Okay, so here comes the Axis assault. Brosras knows he needs to get this area of the map. Stuck a close air support coming in. And that's going to force back the Allied tanks for now. And without the tanks, the Allied infantry is forfeit. So they'll have to fall back. They're going to trade up some damage here. Zook expert finding some damage on the Panther. American rifleman finding some damage on a encroaching Axis infantry. And I'll tell you what, over this last phase of gameplay, we're down to 2 squads of grenadiers now, so if he loses another, I do worry that Brosras may not have enough actual potent infantry for taking points, but he's fine for now. We've also... No, the Jaeger command squad is still here, my mistake.
The enemy is overrunning one of our capture
The Panther
points.
coming in very deep here. Oh, he knows that there's some weak Axis armor here. But he runs into... This is too many Zooks. Yep, too many Zooks. Whoa, we need to avoid the Zooks. Get out of here. We're on 2 squads of Rangers now with Zooks, which I really like. Jesulin, very clever. What a cerebral response to what I thought was basically a game-ending composition from Brosras. By transitioning to having so many Zooks on his infantry, he is actually able to stay alive in this game. He's under the clock right now, has lost east of map to the Axis player. This game not over by a long shot. Look at the army in the top left. Look at the army in the top right. Look at the scoreline. Definitely still a lot of play to be made in this game.
A capture point is being overrun.
Man, these Zook experts are like potent. Loving them. Yikes, they're getting a bit gibbed up though. He needs to be careful with that squad.
Capture point is
Just finding damage though on these tanks. Rifle buster grenade comes through. Nice. This Axis position getting compacted. Some kind of strike coming down here. I think that's the major arty barrage again. Axis forces crucially getting on top of this western command point though. Or victory point. Okay. What a game. I'm still honestly puzzled by the two Pershings though. Not sure what's going on with them. Sorry, two Shermans. Not sure what's going on with them. American tanks have a lot of sh sound in them. It's confusing me.
Crowds are sniffing around our asses. Tactical point being captured. We're losing a capture point.
Finally, a second star of veterancy being gained on this
Our
one.
supply line just got cut off.
And Jesulin is going to connect some infantry onto this point, which he desperately needs to, so that's great. But he's down at 143 now, under 220, ticking fast. His pack howitzer is still only at 2 stars. Like, okay, it's nearly got 3, but that is a slow return on investment, that unit. Panther caught out in a slightly awkward position here. I'm sure the Pershing would love to come around and take some shots. Where are the pack guns? They are very nicely positioned back here. The second Panther also lurking. Pershing's going to round this building and look to take some shots. Here it comes. He just needs line of sight, which these Rangers with their Zooks are going to provide. This is a really nice amount of anti-armor ability that Jesulin's presenting here. Let's have a look at this Pershing. 19 infantry, no vehicle kills. Not bad. And we've just got ourselves a turbo interesting late game on our hands here. But Jesulin needs to break this position, and that looks difficult. He needs to, does he have any, like... I keep on thinking, like, does he have any saturation fire? The major barrage looks good every time he uses it. If only he could call in a Katusha or something. Imagine how dire that would be for this position, but obviously he can't. American forces get a lot of amazing stuff, but they're not allowed to have everything. And I'm going to go ahead and say it, for all my criticisms that I was levelling of this commander in this game, and this is in the minority by far, but we have seen this commander look good. The Pershing has looked fine. Having Zooks on the Rangers has been probably game-changing. He gets a kill together here on, what was that, the MG squad? I think he just killed an MG-42 squad. Now the Panzer IVs come forward. Sorry, one of them's a Panther, but yeah. And these Rangers just kind of bossing things around. And the nice thing about the Rangers is they also beat the pack guns if they can get on top of them. He's in danger of losing the squad. Okay, he's okay. He's okay. Just a really interesting late game offense here. Okay, Jesulin. 117 tickets now under 220. He is running out of time. He's going to have to break this position somehow. 3 stars at last on the pack howitzer. What does that give it? Barrages to be fired more frequently. Those grenadiers ought to die. Yep, so there we go. Wiping your opponent's core infantry is always key to achieving victory in the late game. So I'm liking what I'm seeing from Jesulin. He's angling, he just needs a little opportunity to be given. Panther gets his main gun destroyed, so that's one of the Panthers out the fight conclusively. Where's this Sherman, where's this Pershing going? Oh, the Pershing's going to go and respond to these Jaeger command guys who found their way onto the victory point over there. The Panther gets taken out. I did miss that because I was just checking what was happening in the west of the map. So yeah, one of the Panthers does go down. It was the most vet one, the one with the armoured skirts, goes down.
Friendly's down to 100 points. I say again,
But Jesulin
allies
trailing
have
points still.
100 points.
These Rangers are busting through. Everybody's got Zooks, it seems. And they're finding hits still on these Axis armor. Look how good American infantry is, just like sustaining so much fire and still dishing out the damage with the Zooks. The 3-star Panzer IV here, being a bit endangered. Jesulin mixing in an M1 anti-tank gun into his roster again. Love it. Love it. And that's game. Yeah, because Brosras has lost all his units. Huh. He was building a Brumbar at the close. Wow. Okay, Jesulin putting together a masterful hammer blow there at the at the close there. Where did that Panther go down? All right, sorry. Magpie forensic casting, something of a specialty here. Sorry about this. Okay, so is this the Panther? Yeah. So the Panther went down here. I can only assume it got tagged by a stray Zook round by these Rangers or something. I feel like that was probably the case. And Brosras just also lost all his infantry, and then the game ended. I'm not quite sure what to say about this game, to be honest. I mean, it was a fantastic and amazing game. Just Jesulin playing, pardon me, sorry, playing an unusual captain-based tech strategy here, and stretching way out into the late game and navigating the game to the win with the heavy cavalry company here, putting together a lovely win. I'm really sorry, everyone. I kind of feel like I missed the end of this game because I clicked away for a split second because something was happening over here. We had Jaeger Command Squad and then the Pershing routing over here to take care of them. And then when I clicked back, the Panther was dead and Brosras had lost all his infantry. So I am really sorry about that. I'm just missed that. But yeah, so let's take this game apart. Jesulin opens Captain Tech and he goes for a flak half-track to police the field into a M1 anti-tank gun and a pack howitzer, all of which actually looked fine. All of those units looked okay. The pack howitzer, frankly, a little bit soggy. Not convinced that was super worthwhile. I mean, it was firing away all game, and we've gasped our way to 3 stars of veterancy and 11 kills. Never felt turbo impactful, but I mean, sometimes you get unlucky with these indirect fire units, but I do feel like the pack howitzer is it's just a bit of a soggy unit, isn't it? It just needs a bit of help. But yeah, I mean, not to detract from his captain opener, though, which went really well. Amazing stuff. Never went into Lieutenant Tech, goes straight into the Major, and proceeds to go for the Pershing and then support it with Shermans, which I'm also confused about. But Jesulin making it work very handily here. No, I'm not convinced about those Shermans, to be honest. I think either of them could have been a Jackson. I think this game might have looked easier. Brosras finds himself just in a really nice, he's able to get the early pack gun, which helps deal with the AA half-track substantially. And then doesn't limit its usefulness entirely, though, because the AA half-track, even though it couldn't really be active in the east of the map because of the pack gun, it was still able to basically dominate... Sorry, it wasn't able to be active in the west of the map because of the pack gun. Still able to dominate the east of map, though, so that half-track's still useful, even with the pack gun keeping it in check. But then Brosras finds himself in this really nice double Panzer IV mid-game, or late mid-game, where he is just resurgent. Like, his composition looked fearsome, and then he techs up to Battle Phase 3 and gets a Panther. And I was just like, that is the masterful choice. This is a very difficult to deal with Axis late-game army. And if Jesulin had not adapted, he would have died, in fairly short order. But he did adapt. He started putting Zooks on all his units, and bringing in Rangers with Zook Expert, and putting Zooks on the Rangers. And it looked great. All of a sudden, he didn't need to rely on just the Pershing and the poor Shermans to deal with the Axis armor. His infantry was chipping in substantial amounts of damage onto that Axis armor and forcing it back. And the infantry also able to corral any pack guns that they were able to get too close to, because, pack guns, they are weapon teams, they are 4-man, they're very fragile. You can't just leave them exposed to fire from American infantry. So that choice by Jesulin was really able to upend Brosras' composition. And to be honest, even when Brosras lost a Panzer IV and replaced it with a Panther, which is pretty much a strict upgrade, I mean, it's definitely a big upgrade in most ways, Facing off double Panther, Panzer IV with decent amounts of veterancy and supporting units is just incredibly difficult, but Jesulin able to pull it off by supporting his Pershing with this Zook-toting infantry. Now, seems to me like the Shermans were not very useful this game. They didn't get much veterancy, they didn't achieve much damage. They mostly just seemed to be here to absorb shots, and I feel like he definitely could have afforded a Jackson. He had the fuel at most of the times when he was buying Shermans to buy a Jackson instead. So I have to say I don't fully understand the choice of the Sherman. But it was fine, and Jesulin able to navigate this game to a brilliant win. I am shocked and amazed. I am shocked and amazed because this game looked like very difficult for Jesulin to retrieve at several points, and he was able to. So fantastic stuff from Jesulin. He is as good at this game as ever, and I'm very glad I caught this battle because it was fantastic to watch. So hooray! Marvellous stuff. Thank you very much to all of you there for watching, and this for now will be Magpie842 signing out.